So from residential to commercial, we really want to talk about what is that next step, not only for yourself as an installer, but also for growing your business as a whole here. Okay, this is probably the number one question we get for guys that are kind of going into year two, year three. As you get going in your business, you build up that residential book of business, how you get into, moving forward here. A little bit about myself, if we've never talked, if we've never communicated, um, my name is Matt White, handle the Southeast Territory, so Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. A little bit about what I've done at Wintergreen, the things that I take pride in, really the commercial trees. We'll talk about a little bit of that today, but also really helping build RFPs, helping guys get into the commercial space, looking at those bids that come in or those commercial projects, making sure that your numbers are right, but also making sure that you're as successful as possible and you know what goes into kind of moving from that residential to the commercial space. Okay. In terms of Wintergreen, what sets Wintergreen apart in the market? The thing that I always lean on is our innovation. There's a ton of things that we do differently than other companies, other brands in the market. There's a lot of big things coming this year that I think will definitely help you stand apart when you're building out these bids or these commercial projects. Okay, but also make your install a lot easier. And that just falls right into, best in quality, best in the category on the commercial sense, but also the service. You guys know when you come to us, we handle your questions, we handle your issues if there are those minimal issues that do come up when it comes to products, but also making sure you have everything before you need it. It arrives on time. It's a smooth transaction there from start to finish. Now, when we get into the commercial process here, okay, there's really four things that we want to get into, okay, and what we'll cover here. Okay, finding and reaching the right commercial accounts. How do we do that? There's 12 that we have pinpointed here and ranked, and how we get to that process of nailing these down. The next part, the proposal. Okay, we can talk as much as we want, we can go on as many visits as we want, but how do we get from finding and reaching out to these accounts and these people we want to work with to actually getting in front of them, putting an actual number and a proposal in front of them? Okay. The third step of this is a module and a quick reference. Utilizing all of the information that we're putting in front of you, making sure that you have the answers you're looking for and something that you can go back to. And then finally, we'll wrap it up. We can answer any questions. Mike Marlow's on the call as well. He's done a ton of commercial in the past as an installer. On the wholesale side, there's a team here to support you as you get going, or if you're already established. There's always questions about jobs. No job is the same, especially on the commercial side. We see it more on the residential side where everything is very cookie cutter houses these days. The commercial space, there's a ton of different applications and opportunities for you guys to run into. Okay, and then the last step is getting you prepared to go out and actually do this. Okay, making sure you are successful, making sure that you have support from us here at Wintergreen to do this and make a lot of money doing it ultimately. Okay, first step when we're talking about getting into the commercial side and going off of the residential side. Okay, obviously we want to identify the top commercial account types. Okay, that's different based off of your territory and ultimately the space that you want to be in. Okay, is that commercial jobs and bids through governments, municipalities, places like that, where it's going through a bid process? Is it, small businesses? Is it the larger businesses? Is it malls, shopping centers? Nailing down where you want to be in the market, what's available in your territory, but also what connections you might have as you start breaking down what is within your area here. Okay, The second outcome of the webinar here is run the perfect voicemail, okay, that earns the callback, gets you through to actually the face-to-face portion of commercial sales, okay? The third part of this, build a tiered commercial proposal. Okay, what are the specs? What is the scope? There's different things that come into play when we're talking about commercial jobs. Okay, and part of that is the renewals, getting that renewal set up early. Okay, can we lock them in long term instead of kind of the residential where you're year by year, you might do your renewals in March or April, kind of getting them set up for the next year. We want to have this on the books so we know this is locked in long term, really from the jump here. Okay. And then outcome four, what is our pitch when we're attacking these decision makers? Okay. Whether that's a property manager, the HOA, a committee, a board, these larger businesses or commercial spaces, there can be multiple people involved. What is our pitch to make it easy so that everybody can understand what our vision is, how this is going to benefit them in the long run, right? And then there's three roles, and it all ties back to one opportunity. Okay, so obviously we've got the installer, the person on the roof, okay, your lighting pros, this is where it all stems from. Okay, we're all that installer at heart. Okay, we all love the finished product. But there's the second piece of this is obviously building the business. This is where we all want to see our companies grow, see our services and our book of business really expand year after year. Okay. And this is where we talk about prospecting, the proposal playbook. How do we get that yes and ultimately get them on that renewal? Okay. And the last person involved is really the buyer. Okay. How do we build that rapport with them? The property managers, cities and municipalities, that is a big part of this, is making sure we have those relationships. Okay. But also the facilities guys, where are things being shipped? Who's doing the storage? All of those are additional pieces here when we're talking about commercial. Okay, we'll jump into our first section here, finding the right accounts and getting that walkthrough. Okay, like we mentioned, 12 commercial account types, and which one is best for us to get into. Okay, we'll get into how we get those callbacks, how we earn that initial step to get on the property, get that conversation moving. And then the sequence, okay? How do we move these prospects from start to finish, okay? From prospecting to closing them as an actual client for us. All right, so before we start, if everyone can go in the chat, give us an idea of where you were last year, okay, on average. Okay, there's a ton of guys that we talk to that are in that 0%. There's a lot of guys that are moving into commercial. Where are you so we have a better understanding of how we can best serve you individually? Go in the chat, put in where you were last year, okay? And if you want to throw in there where you would like to be, okay? Help us to help you here moving forward. We'll jump right into it. Okay, a local branch manager, say they call up your line. They look up who's a lighting installer, who does holiday lighting in our area. Okay, so for me, right here in Alpharetta in Georgia, if the local bank called up and said, who's a lighting installer, or have you done commercial lighting, what is your answer to that? Okay, is that something where you would be nervous to go into that, or do you have the confidence to say, we can do that regardless on if you have or not? Okay, I think there is a lot of trepidation when you're looking at commercial. Oh man, that's a big project. How do I do that? Do I have a small crew? Do I have a large crew? How do I facilitate getting these pieces in mind? Okay, and being sure that we're set up correctly to be able to do these things. So really, why these places are looking for installers, and it's a growing market. Okay, there are more than ever cities, HOAs looking for installers. They don't want the guy on the corner who's part of the HOA doing the installs when they're competing against the other HOAs, the other shopping centers that they're driving by. Everyone wants that to be the draw. They want to get your attention. So if yours is not up to par, there are going to be more eyeballs on your things. There's a ton of forums out there of bad installs. We don't want our commercial spaces to end up there. Okay. We want to have the highlight. We want to grow our book when we're out in front of these people, showing them that this is what we've done. We can do the same thing for you. And it's different than what they've seen from every other installer. Okay. There's a ton of guys jumping into holiday lighting, whether they know what they're doing or not. What makes you stand out? Okay. And this is all installs that we can help you with. How to train you how to do this, making sure that you have the resources to be able to do a light wall like this. Okay, so it's not as hard as it looks, and we can help coach that confidence into you guys. The next part of this is, it shows that they're invested. Okay, nobody wants to be the dark property on the block if everyone else is lit up. You want to show that as a property manager that you are bringing joy. That's what Christmas is all about, is the smile at the end of the day. Okay. Yes, there's a lot of pain points from the installer side, from the wholesale side, throughout the season. But ultimately, when you turn those lights on and you see the smiles and the joy it brings, that's really what everybody is chasing. It's also a way to bring revenue to the area. Okay, not only for you as the installer, but also for the business owner. Okay, a lot of these commercial jobs, it's that step in the door so that you can get the people next door, you can get the city next door. All of these property managers, they all talk to each other. All of the cities talk to each other. It's really one large referral network between everybody. Okay, so once you do one job, that's going to increase your revenue here as a business owner, but also creating that relationship, especially with property managers. Most of them are not just handling one property, being able to do all of their properties, showing that you can do good work throughout this will open up that door so you can just increase your commercial jobs. So really to sum that all up, they're not buying the lights in a sense. They're buying what you can do and what the lights do. Okay, so the increased foot traffic, the competitive side of things, what separates this property manager, this retail establishment from everybody else on the block? Okay, the community presence, being able to put your brand out there to a lot of people at one time. Okay, being able to put in your programming, being able to use this for events, showing that you are part of a large scale install. But also the retention side of things is very high. Once you get your foot in the door, they want to continue working with you. If you do a good job, if you're on top of it, if you do what you say you're going to do, most importantly, they will come back to you year after year. So back to anybody can do the commercial side. Okay, a lot of it is just confidence. Okay, there is some timidness when you're looking at these large scale projects. You see all of the trees, you see the high-rise buildings. It's the same product you're doing in Mr. and Mrs. Smith's house on the corner. It's just on a larger scale. Okay. So we're still using our C9 bulbs. We're still using our mini lights to wrap the trees. It's just, how do we prioritize our time and our crews to be able to do this and do it effectively? Okay, I think that is one of the biggest pieces when you're jumping into commercial. Where do I pull the crews from? How do I scale this so it's not taking away from the rest of my business, but the profit's on the other side there? It's weighing those pieces when you're looking at commercial. And the biggest thing that commercial end users are looking for, okay, of course they want the tower trees. Everyone wants the biggest tower tree they can get. Okay, whether it's realistic or not, They're all fascinated by the big trees. Okay, you see them all over town when you're driving around. Everyone wants those. And there is some shyness from installers to get into tower trees, but they are very easy to put together. If you've never done them, start trying to sell them. Okay, try to upsell a tower tree. They don't need to be the 40, 50-foot trees. A lot of people are looking for 17 to 23-foot trees. That is an easy way for you to get into that market. Okay. Because guess what? These people that are buying the trees are not the ones that are putting them up. Okay? It takes somebody that knows what they're doing, understands lighting to do this. Okay. Of course, they're all looking for the best bulbs on the market, whether that's your OptiCore, the Flex filament, but also how do you upsell this? Okay, how do you add wreaths, garland to these projects? Easy to install. It adds a lot of money to our jobs. Okay, but also looking at fold flat stars, your spheres, things that people are not seeing on the market every day or at every project. Those can be the little things that help grow your book of business. Okay, well, this guy, he sold us on this package here with these spheres that match our lights, that match the tree we have, that match the garland. Everything ties together, and it's different than every other basic proposal where they're just talking about doing mini lights and the roof line. Okay. But also, just being creative with your product selection, not just wrapping the tree. How can you use mini lights to create a canopy, to do those wall of lights? It really is about how do you set yourself up to show that you're different than the 10 other contractors that they're talking to or maybe putting in a bid. So when we jump into our account types, okay, obviously we all have seen the HOAs. Every HOA here in Georgia has some kind of garland, some kind of lighting on the outside, and I would say probably 90% of them at this point are all done by installers. Okay, so that is a quick, easy way to get into the commercial side. Property management companies, downtown and business associations. Those are kind of all in the same there when you're talking about somebody over a project, over a building, over a strip mall, whatever that is, to build that relationship. And usually there's multiple properties involved. Banks and credit unions. I would also throw in the malls, the shopping centers, car dealerships, places that we often forget about, but that are usually doing some kind of Christmas. That might be trees and garland, wreaths inside, bows, things like that inside of the actual business, but also looking at the exterior of them. Okay, not everything commercial always has to be on the outside. A lot of this can be done inside waiting rooms, inside the foyer, the entrance. There's a lot of opportunity here that we can miss if we're just focused on the outside of these buildings. Okay, apartment complexes, hospitals, they're all doing something. The hospital right here by the office and our warehouse, there is a tree on every single floor of that building. How do you become that guy that does that? Okay. They're not doing any lighting on the actual roof line, but they've got trees all over that place. Bows, garland. There are those opportunities to really focus in on different product selection here. Then you've got your car washes, restaurants, bars, fast food chains. They're all doing something. Okay. I know Chick-fil-A, they all have a competition of who decorates the best, who has the best display. How do you get your foot in the door with some of these owners that might own multiple locations to be their decorator, to really expand, get them up the board there of the competitions? Okay. Airports and cities, usually those are going out to bid. Okay. That is a long process. It can take a lot of individual meetings, group meetings, that entire bid process. You really have to be on top of airports, municipalities, cities to be part of that process. Okay. And then churches and event venues. Okay. A lot of that is inside the actual building itself, but there is a big opportunity with churches. Okay. Taking that pressure off of them to hang everything and putting that in your hands. Like we're talking about, there are so many opportunities, so many different ways to light a property. Okay. You've got your giant wreaths on one side. You've got your nice garland, little wraps of the bushes. Okay. This is all simple stuff that we can do as an installer already. We're just changing our frame and our reference here when we're looking at these jobs. Okay. Then, of course, you have your larger exterior displays utilizing, different ways, being creative on how you can actually light up an area and how to actually hang the lights. And it really is, framing this in a way to make it easy on yourself as an installer, not overthinking these jobs and saying, oh, I can never do that. Maybe it's just you need a lift to do it. Okay. I think we've all probably used a lift residentially for those large trees, larger homes. We're just changing where we are. All right. We'll get into how to actually get a jump on this. Okay. As we build our reference, as we build our book here, how do we get our foot in the door? Okay. More and more people don't answer the phone. Everyone has an Amazon blocker on their phone, a Google blocker, whatever it is. How do we make sure that they want to call us back? Okay, so if I'm calling you and you're a property manager, hey, this is Matt. We provide professional holiday lighting for commercial properties within Alpharetta over here at Wintergreen. We're currently scheduling free walkthroughs for the upcoming holiday season. Many clients find professional lighting increase foot traffic and tenant satisfaction from our commercial products. If that's of interest, reach out to me at phone number. Again, this is Matt with Wintergreen, looking forward to connecting. It can be that simple. Okay, a lot of times we just get in front of people and we just spill everything. Okay, we don't need to show them all of our cards at the beginning. We don't need to get into product with them. They want to see that you can actually help them with their pain points. Okay. That might not be product right off the bat. Okay. They might have some stuff. They may or may not like it, but they may not like the install portion of it. They may not like the storage of it. They may be looking for something new. What is their actual pain point? And that can be addressed later down the road here. Okay, we really just want to make that quick, simple introduction, who we are, how we can help them, what are some things when we're doing our research that would benefit them. Okay, once we get through and they call us back, they might say, well, we've been talking about it. We're a little slow to it. They might hit you with the board meeting when their next board meeting is. Can you invite yourself to that board meeting? Can you get in front of them before they meet again? We just want to shorten that time from when we first talked to them, when that voicemail was, to being in front of them as the client and on the property. Okay, everything is going to happen at the property itself. Okay, so trying to speed that up. And one of the things, if you're not a sales guy, if you like the install side of things, if you like everything that Holiday does, you're not as confident on the sales portion of it, give them a time and make them adjust from it. Okay. Look at your calendar. Don't base it off of theirs. Okay. So give them a time, shoot for that, see what they say, and, really put that into their mind. Okay. If you say, can I get out there at 9 a.m. on Tuesday? And they say, why don't you come at 11? Okay. Put that into their hands to schedule that meeting. Okay, take a lot of that back and forth off of your plate there. And like we're talking about, it's only the door opener. Okay, the voicemail is just to get in front of them, get inside the building here. Okay, now ultimately, what you guys want to do is build up a brochure, something that you can actually put in front of them. Okay, here's our jobs. Here's what we have done previously. How does this suit you? Okay, that is the number one thing. We need to have leave behinds. We need to have things to show them what can be done. And I know there's a ton of software, a ton of images that you can utilize, programs, things like that on the market. Give them an idea of what they're looking at. Okay, you know who it is, you know the building. Work something up for them. Give them a few different options of what you can put in front of them. First question out of here, you're writing a voicemail for a hospital, the facilities director about holiday lighting. Okay, there's a few different choices on here. Which opening line are you using for your framework? I notice your hospitals don't have any holiday lights last year, and I think we could really help you out. B, this is Matt from company blank. We specialize in commercial holiday lighting for healthcare facilities in our area. We schedule complimentary walkthroughs this month. C, I'd like to tell you about our company. We've been in business 20 years and we work with the best products on the market. I'm calling you to see if you'd be interested in a quote. We have great prices and we can beat any competitor. In the chat, go ahead and throw in your answer here as to which one of these you would submit to a hospital facilities director. Okay, A, B, C, or D. Okay, if you were thinking B, that is the correct answer here. Okay, we want to identify who we are, our company, the area, and make it very informal in a sense. Okay, that we're just coming out, scheduling these free walkthroughs. Is this something that you would be interested in or not? We don't need to talk about our pricing, don't need to talk about their lack of lighting, make them feel bad about how they weren't doing anything, okay, or talk negatively on their property by any means. So, section one takeaway. There's a ton of different options out there. There's a ton of different areas to go into. Targeting that down for your area, getting it in front of decision makers, property managers, decision makers, council members, board members, etc. Okay. But also, how do we continue to grow this? How do we stand out from our competition here? And this is as simple as it can be, showing them what you can do, what helps them stand out from their competitors or from your competitors, but also what makes them stand out as a city, as a business owner. This will bring joy to them to show that they have the biggest display, the best display, the nicest display within their area. We'll get into the proposal that wins the decision. This is what it's all about, securing that yes at the end of things. Okay, once we've laid out the scope, broken down our tiers, got them on that renewal there, how do we get them to say yes to everything? Getting the walkthrough before the meeting. We want to take as many pictures as we can, get a full lay of the land so we can put together a proper RFP. That's really where we want to be. We want to be at the beginning of these jobs and of these projects as much as possible. Okay, it is much harder to get into these bids, RFPs, RFQs, whatever they listed as, if you do not know what is going on from start to finish. Okay, you want to try to be involved with them from the very beginning, bring up products you want, bring up their display, how you can do it properly so that you have a leg up if they do go out and get additional quotes. Okay, second part of this, putting in tiers. Okay, what does a basic install look like? What is your standard like? What is the full-blown project, their wish list? What does the pricing look like for that? Okay. And these are things that we don't want to rush. Okay. We want these to be longer meetings, not just a drop in, leave some information. We want to find the full scope of their project from start to finish, build that rapport, spend a lot of time with them. Okay. And most importantly, bring samples with you. Okay. I've had guys get samples of our wreaths. We've got the sample boxes from Wintergreen. Take product with you. Show them what is available. They might think, oh, okay, we're just talking about lights. Okay, probably warm white, things like that. There's a ton of different options for them. Multicolor, twinkle, you've got your soft twinkle. How can you implement that to get them to stand out from everybody else that might be static? Here's what your proposal should look like. Okay, this should be individualized for the people that you're working with. Okay, have your cover page, company name, all of your information. Okay, about your company. How long have you been doing it? Are you insured? Okay, that is a big piece of the commercial side. A lot of these business owners, cities especially, municipalities, airports, they are not going to work with people that do not have insurance. Okay, so make sure that those back end things that you can do as a business owner and as an installer are set up before you start attacking commercial. Okay, build that trust initially that you are reputable. Okay, you're not just a fly by night guy. Okay, put together a scope of work. This is what we're going to do. These are the products we're going to use. This is our time frame. Okay, put it all together so that they can see step by step, this is what our individual job looks like. Then have your pricing breakdown, your entry, standard, and their full dream list there if they were to do it all. Okay, have that renewal ready. Okay, whether that's into year 2, whether that's a 3-year contract. Okay, break that out. The last thing we want to do commercially is look at this year by year. We want to expand our book, try to get as many of these on the books lined up year after year as possible. Okay, and like I said, put that timeline out there. This is when we're going to install. This is what we might need from them to do the install. We need this area clear. We need this set up. Same thing for takedown. This is when we're going to do our takedown. We require this deposit, usually 50% up front. Okay, and then these are our warranty and our terms as a summary for the job. Okay, and we want to make sure that we are using the best products on the market. The last thing we want to do commercially is have a ton of callbacks. Okay, on the commercial space, it's a little bit different than residential. Right? These people that are handling projects, property managers, etc., will pay more for better product. You can get away with using, a Kringle bulb, Kringle mini lights, lower grade greenery, etc. when you're doing residential. But the biggest thing for commercial is using the best of the best for these jobs. Primarily, it's going to be outside, needs to be UV protected, needs to be able to stand up to the elements. Okay, that's also going to limit your callbacks, limit your warranty claims, and keep you moving forward during a busy season already. Okay, so making sure that you are set up properly, that you're putting that investment into the product. But this is where it goes back to taking samples with you, showing the difference of what is truly available in the market from Wintergreen, being able to show the difference between an OptiCore, whether that's faceted, whether that's opaque, whether that's a flex filament, does it twinkle, soft twinkle? They may just say warm white, but what does that mean? What look do they want? Do they want an old school look? Do they want the brightest? It's really all about selling them the look that they want and using the best quality products on the market. Greenery. This is where you can really talk about having a strong warranty behind it, showing them that they are getting something that is durable, 10-year warranty, UV protected. Most importantly, that those lights are going to match what they're doing on the building, inside the building. There is consistency throughout their display. Okay. And this goes from tower trees, wreaths, garland, teardrops. There's a lot of different options for greenery. And luckily, through your partnership with Wintergreen, you're able to put together a full list of what is available. Okay. Is that maybe a middle tier? Is that the top tier? Is that a mixed noble? You know, an Oregon versus a sequoia or an Olympia pine? Do they want to decorate it? You know, do they want something that's a little bit more decorated, like that mixed noble? You know, you have a ton of options and you can overcome those through the catalog and what you're able to present. Using the visuals is the number one thing. Okay. Showing them your vision, you know, getting what they want out of it, and then making that even better. Okay. They might say, well, we might want some lights on the roof. We might want these trees done, but showing them what this actually could look like. Okay. Utilizing the 3 tiers of pricing, you know, give them kind of that good, better, best of what is available. And it might be a growth over those 3 years. You know, this is a perfect way to show, okay, we can do this for your budget this year, but we can always add on to that year 2, year 3. We can change it year after year. And then the last part of it, you know, lean into the warranty. Lean into your warranties from Wintergreen, showing that they are getting the best of the best on the market, but they're also getting great service from you as the installer. And one thing I always recommend for installers is put together some kind of service agreement with them. Okay. Especially for the larger commercial jobs. Is it every month you're going to send a guy out there? Every 2 weeks during the season? You know, what does that look like to meet their needs to make sure everything's working? Is it a high traffic area? Are people going to come through there, mess with the lights, unplug things? You know, put in something that shows that you care about the project down the road and that they're taking care of taking that load off of their shoulders. All right, second question we'll jump into here. A shopping center marketing director wants a proposal. 40 lamp posts, 8 facades, a courtyard with trees, and under 75,000. How do you structure your tiers? A, one proposal at 74,000 covering everything, come in just under budget. B, 3 tiers all under her cap, 35, 55, and 72. 3 tiers, 30K lamp post, 60K plus courtyard and entry, 95 for the full property. Or D, ask for a bigger budget first, 75 isn't enough for the property. Okay, so really we want to be at C, working through those 3 tiers, breaking it out section by section. Okay, the lamp posts are going to be 30. If we have the lamp posts in the courtyard and the entry, we're at 60. 95 for the full property. Okay, it might be above their budget, but they might say yes to that anyways. Okay, they might see the value of what you are doing, the need behind it, where even if it is over their budget, they might agree to that. Okay, don't be scared of the numbers. So really when we're wrapping this up, our proposal needs those 6 sections and 3 tiers of pricing and getting that renewal set up. Okay, that is the most important key takeaways from that section. All right, so your commercial playbook start to close. Start with the accounts that we want to target. Every proposal needs those 6 lines and 3 tiers of pricing. All right, so kind of our workflow getting into this. Obviously, we want to research who we want to target, get in contact with them, get face to face with them as quickly as possible. Okay. Then we want to put together our bids and our full proposal and present that in front of the board and the decision makers. Okay. And then finally is that closing piece. Okay. And really, those first three, we want to shorten that time as quickly as we can. Okay. We don't want to spend all day just researching and not having any action. Same with the contact. We don't want to just contact a bunch of people without getting the walkthrough. We need to shorten that. We're all busy, especially during the season. We want to get on property as close to the beginning of the research as possible. All right. Final question here. A bank manager calls in August. Corporate approved holiday lighting for 6 locations. The proposal is due September 15th for the regional VP, $8,000 per location. You've never done this before. You drive by, buy one. It's a 60-foot roof line, 8 windows, 4 trees, and a monument sign. What do you do this week? A, send a per location proposal at $8,000 each. Walk all 6, then submit one multi-location proposal. Quote the one location you drove by and get to the others later. Tell her $8,000 per location isn't realistic. I think we all know, based off of these questions, what the answer is going to be here. And that would be B. Okay, walk all 6, especially with banks. We've all seen it. Every bank is different. Every Wells Fargo, every Chase, they all look different. They all have different things about them. We want to make sure that we are set up properly because one might be 6,000, the other might be 10. We want to make sure that we allocate the correct time, product, and resources to each location so that we can accurately bid this, not just going off of what they tell us here at the beginning. To start to wrap things up, here's an example of how you can start using this now. Build your target list and write your voicemail. Practice with the guys in the office. Practice with your other installers. Practice with your husband or wife. Your kids. They will be your best audience because they will tell you if you sound terrible, if you don't know what you're talking about. They'll ask you questions. If it's like my wife, she doesn't know anything about lighting, so she'll have no idea. How do you overcome some of those things? How do you make it make sense to somebody who knows nothing? Okay, because you will run into that more times than not. And then get on the property. Okay, go out and scope some of these properties, whether you have contacted them or not. Okay, go look at a bank with your guys. How would you target that bank? What would you do? What would you present them? Walk through it, just like when you were starting in the residential side. Practice on your own house, practice the commercial side with a sample property. Okay, walk through those steps so that you're ready to go when the time comes. All right, we will open it up for questions. And like I said, Mike is also on the call here.
And I'm going to jump in real quick. I think for the biggest thing that my takeaway from this presentation or any presentation on commercial sales, I think it's very important everybody understands it's all about presentation and networking. The more you can network in your area, the more you're going to be able to find those opportunities and have maybe kind of the inside track, but as well as presentation. Nowadays, you got drone coverage and doing overlays of things and take the extra effort. Don't just kind of put an invoice in there and send it in. Those are going to help you kind of stand alone. The days and age of not many of the decorator groups going out bidding commercial. If you put a lot of dedicated time, it'll show in your presentation. But because before it used to be like, let's say 100 decorators in the area, there only might be 3 to 5 that would actually just concentrate on commercial. Nowadays, you have a lot more, which I encourage, of course, because I think it's a great way to add to your portfolio of a whole holiday lighting because I think it's a year-round based business now. It's not just something that you're thinking just one quarter, if anything else. But I will tell you from my personal experience, commercial sales, walking through the door, talking to presidents of banks and all that stuff has been more fulfilling for my growth as being an owner, a business owner, and a decorator, because it was something where I was giving them the vision that I already saw in their building. I already saw 3 or 4 different designs, and they just relied on me to be able to help that. I think everybody that's in our industry has that in you. So I think that's one of the things that you just got to continue to just get out of your car, get out of your truck, go canvass your areas and knock down every business owner and make those conversations. I know it's not easy. I know it's not going to be something everybody wants to do, but if you want to grow your business to $1 million in commercial sales, that's what it's going to take. And it can be done. No doubt about it. So even if you try to get a couple 100,000 or even a 50,000, you have to get out of the truck and go talk to people. So that's just my say. One thing I appreciate Matt doing an awesome job on this presentation. By all means, we are here to help anybody that has a commercial project. We are here to help support them from our product, but as well as our services. So please
Hey,
reach
Mike, we've
out.
got a couple questions in here that
Oh,
we'll
I
get
got it.
to.
Okay, help them out.
Hey, Dave, if you have any questions about commercial, feel free to reach out to either myself or Mike. We'd be more than happy to meet with you individually on how to get you started and, learn more about your business individually. And then for Sean, talking about a renewal discount for consecutive years. Sean saying that they try to lock it in 3, 5, or 8 years on commercial properties and start at 5% and work up to 15. Sean, I think it depends on what the account is for commercial, especially, and part of that is it doesn't have to have as much play with the discounts as residential does. I think that's a solid way to look at it, but you also don't need to necessarily jump in with discounts commercially for new guys especially. Don't feel like you need to go in and discount things heavily for commercial. But I think if you can get them on those longer plans, the discount will definitely kick in, like what Sean is talking about. Where you're giving them that additional percentage off based off of the number of years. I think 8 years is great. If you're able to get 8 years on the market, that's better than just about everyone that we talk to on a regular basis.
Yeah, the largest one I've ever seen is 6 years from a city contract. A lot of times you'll start seeing three isn't common with a 3 year extension. One of the things I would ask Sean would be like, are you selling the product or are you doing a lease? That's going to be a big factor because if it's a lease, then you have to do the replacement or any of that product. So I would kind of encourage never to go up more than 10% discount on anything because sometimes or discount the product itself, never discount your labor or your storage or how you run your operations because that's what's ongoing all the time. So that's a good question.
Perfect. I think that those are the two that we had here, Mike.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, by all means, I think Matt, awesome job. And obviously this is a work in progress. We're all out there trying to make it all happen. We at Wintergreen are just here to help support you from a product standpoint. Make sure you have the tower trees, commercial, just any of those options, designs, but as well as make sure that we can help you maybe in the RFPs, help you even write those sometimes because we have the product specs that kind of help stand you alone, especially those with the networks. I've been part of that as well. But yeah, happy decorating out there, everybody.
Perfect. Thanks to everyone for joining us, Sean. We will connect further with myself and Mike, and we'll go from there. If you guys have any questions, our lines are always open. Just let us know.